Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds, looking back to Lovecraft Country and Cultist Simulator. Yes, we've done this one in the Let's Try series, but we're doing it again for one simple reason, is I know what the hell I'm doing at this point. It's been one of my guilty pleasures, and after finishing one game, because this game does not have a regular save function, has a checkpoint system, which means if you screw up, you start all over again, but I did finish it properly last time. So we're going to start again at the beginning, and I'm going to try to show some techniques about how if you want to try this game or not. Now, one of the reasons I like this game is that while it is at the surface a simple card and cycle gathering system, if you're paying attention to the descriptions and the lore that's going by you, you'll get a picture of a very dark and interesting world in which on the surface it resembles the London in the late Victorian era, just before the crumbling of the empire, when it had raided all other cultures and brought the occult secrets to its city. But the deeper you go, the more you realize just how dark and disturbing the world is. So let's begin a journey into the world of Cultist Simulator again. Alright, Aspirant. Now this is the most basic version of the game, the one you'll be starting off with. It's just an ordinary person. Now, I'm going to, again, probably do, let's see, what was the name? Oh, yeah, Randolph Carter. I just did the statement of Randolph Carter, and he's kind of in this mind as this hopeless dreamer caught up in forces beyond his comprehension. Now, you'll note if you tap the card like this, it'll describe what it is. Now, one of the things you're going to have to learn about this game is that these cards are important. These tell you the aspects of what they do, and the game is set up so you do not learn anything except by experience, which is why you're going to crash and burn 6 or 7 times before you start getting the game. But this tells me that it's a job, therefore it links to this, which is work, earn a living or practice the invisible arts. In other words, work is kind of an interesting concept because the game plays with language. Work is of course employment, such as the menial employment as a hospital porter or on any other menial job. You are playing a character that has nothing, no family, no job, not a job worth having, and no prospects in life. You're one of the bottom of the rung, but in this world, you somehow feel called to do more. In any case, you'll notice down below here you have indicators of both health, passion, reason, and funds, all at 0 at the moment, of course. So the only thing you can do with your life is work. Another shift. Another shift mopping the darkened floors, delving post to hollow invalids, trundling corpse-laden gurney's to the basement. Start, and you notice the cycle goes 10 seconds. I'll be doing this at normal speed. I do not like doing this at fast forward because it's too easy to make a mistake, crash and burn. But after the 10-second cycle is over, you pause. Always pause whenever one of these things happens because it's the only way you're going to catch things. Halfway through your shift, the head porter beckons you aside. "We won't require your services any longer," he says. "Here is your last payment. We've paid through the end of the month. I have lost my job. At least now I have little time to rest and my health improves. Dream is unlocked." Okay. We now have 1 health. This represents the condition of your body. Now, right now, your mind is pretty much asleep. You can organize your cards any way you like to, but I kind of like to have them over here in little certain spots where I can keep track of them. Now, you'll note that I have job. Now, here is the number one thing you need to know about this game is to be able to solve it. Is that you can ask, what do I put here? Notice the card glows there, which means I can put the health in the work card, but it also comes over here where it shows I can put an ability, a benefactor, a desire, a ritual, right, aka ritual, or a job, and that this is scholarship. This allows me to increase reason further. What that means with a little X besides it is I cannot use this to improve reason. Work is a meaningless cycle of the same jobs over and over again, so you cannot learn. Now, the reason that's important is that sometimes when you do things, you will learn something along the way. In other words, they'll eject a little section that will give you an extra card. This cannot happen with work because, like I said before, work is menial. Now, the only thing we have to do is funds, which obviously do not glow. And I can move that. Sorry about that. Which do not glow, so which means I cannot put that there. If you notice, they're also not one indicated, but I can put health in. Now, when you put this in, it'll tell you a change in what's going on. The unskilled labor, backbreaking work for meager pay. Is this the best I can do? Since we were just fired and we only have 2 funds. Now, he gave us a month's pay, so it means in this game, 1 fund is equal to 2 weeks of your pay, which in 1920s London might be like 6 farthings. I have no idea. Inflation in another currency whatsoever. But anyways, you start that. You have a 60-second cycle. And now you go dig ditches. While at the same time, your dreams change. Once again, I dream of a glow beneath the filthy skin of the world, the light through the bleak world, the pale door, the old man. Okay, as you can see, while this is a regular card game, if you are paying attention, there is a story. Now, I don't like to use fast forward, but you probably don't want to see me sit through all of this. So I'm probably going to use liberal use of it in order to move us along. I may turn down the sound effects, though. They can get a bit annoying. Hang on. Sound volume, 10%. Resume. Okay, that's a little too much. Okay, sound here. There we go. Okay, so, as you can see, we now have another option. Dream. Recall my dreams. It began when I spoke to an old man in the hospital who knew my name. He's dead now, the pneumonia. Why do I dream of him still? Why is the cobalt light in my dreams? Cobalt's dark blue, by the way. Night time is now passing. Now, what that means is before, we didn't have a cycle of time. In other words, you'll note shortly that a cycle will start and every 60 seconds it will consume 1 fund. And this is going to be your bugger. You need to have funds. Otherwise, you can't live. So, acquisition of funds becomes one of the first minor goals of the game. At a certain point, you can usually set it up so you have a cycle going where you can have the funds plus additional money. But right now, you ain't got nothing. Dream, of course, is, like I said, another verb. You can dream things. Now, as you notice, you can dream of funds, which is strange, which means you purchase a tincture of opium. In this special crisis, I might visit a discreet pharmacist to purchase a tincture of opium and make my dream sweet. Now, that's opium. I kind of sometimes say you're just getting trashed at the bars. Whatever it is, you're below 2 weeks of funds, and you get something in return, but we'll go that later. Contentment. I'm happy, I think. Contentment defends against dread, but contentment doesn't last. Now, here's an interesting thing. Contentment is commonly used just to defend against dread. In other words, when you get a dread card, which is you losing yourself to despair, you need to use a commitment card, a containment card, or something similar to be able to compensate it. But it also is what's called an influence. Now, it's an echo, resonance, or alignment. It's a type of energy, and its energy aligns to lantern. Life is a pure flame lived by an invisible fun. Lantern is the principle of the secret place Sim calls the House of Sun. Now, this is where the game gets interesting. Even the mundane things of this world, put that back up, have magical resonance and can be used for magic rites or other purposes. You notice that also it has the aspect of heart. The heart relents its beat to protect the skin against the world we understand. It's a principle that continues and preserves, and that becomes important later on. The moment, it's just an influence that we have in case we happen to get a dread card. It will only last, as you can see, 59.6 seconds when I start time again. Passion, on the other hand, is one of our permanent qualities. You'll notice we started it down here, seeing it down here. Dull minds are either intuitive or mathematical. It is an ability, brain or heart or eye or mind. Most of us are born with them, and it also has the resonance of moth. I knew a man who captured moth in a bell jar. On nights like this, he released them one by one to die in the candle. Moth is the wild and perilous principle of chaos and yearning, and it is an ingredient which can be consumed as a fuel, ointment, pigment, or patience. But this is also your soul. So you got like a billion other ingredients you want to use before this stuff. But you'll notice that we can dream with passion. What will that do? The moonlit road. And in this dream, the road creates a hilltop and the air is silver bright. But it wants something called lore. And if you look, nice graphic, by the way. You look, you can't see it. Lore. If I engage in occult practice before I sleep, I might find the way to deeper dreams, such as the woods, but we'll get to that later. In the meantime, what it wants is knowledge of invisible arts. We have none at this time, so all we're going to do is a mundane dream at the moment. Meanwhile, under this, a change in the air. I need funds to live. Perhaps this recent upset in my circumstances is a secret blessing. There is something to my dreams. I feel a change in the air. Lovecraftian universes, that's usually a bad sign. But again, I'll fast forward us. You notice when it has a slot open here, it wants me to insert something, but you'll notice we don't have anything to insert at the moment, so we're going to have to let it go empty. You don't always want to fill these slots, by the way. Sometimes that can be bad. Right, this is your biggest problem. Time passes. Time, the sundial shadow passes. I must have funds to live or I will become ill. You don't have any money, you get kicked out of your apartment, you get killed. and you die of exposure in the streets. But unskilled labor, thy day is done, and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Now, you've got health, but you're now fatigued, which means I can't use it again until it resets after 57.7 seconds. Vitality, on the other hand, is a new card. Exercise or something rare has invigorated me. Use with another vitality to improve your abilities. It lasts only 3 minutes. So, if I get another aspect heart, notice, aspect advancement, tasty what you may be, with enough of these cards you can grow an ability. And again, another influence. It can be used for certain aspects. Now, I usually just set it up so I have the temporary cards on the left where there'd be regular health here plus the fatigue. Now, what we want to do is we want to have vitality, 2 vitality together before this one decays. So let's see if we can get that done. Change in the air. And right now I have no card I can put into work, so it remains idle. It's not always bad to have idle in your cards, but now we've only got 2 funds left. As you notice, this one just sucked it up. We are currently still, of course, doing fast forward. Not my favorite, but you probably don't have my patience. And as you can see, the time elapses and the card of the contentment disintegrates. Now, boom. Sometimes it's fun, though, by the way. Dreams of doors. This is what your character's doing. Tonight is a dream of the labyrinth of doors, which results in something. Restlessness. I dreamed of opening doors, red doors and gold glass, and doors bound like books, and relic cards doors and castle gates. Behind one was something I seek. I awoke with the slamming of doors still in my ears. Now restlessness, my old friend. It's one of your problems. You can see that it's got a countdown, but when it does count down to 0, you get a dread card. We're gonna get plenty of dread cards in the beginning, so we'll see this. 59.1, 59.1. It's not gonna help, unfortunately. There's a way to get rid of restlessness, but we're not going to have time to do it, unfortunately. But in 9.1 seconds, as you can see here, a letter from a solicitor, the old man at the hospital, the one I dreamed of, remember that? See, if you don't pay attention to these things, you're going to miss what's happening in the plot. Has named me his will. I'll hear more soon. Okay. All right. Now, health has regenerated, which means that we can, in theory, take this card, put it here, and get another vitality in order to be able to study both vitalities to get another health, which is exactly what I want, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Bequest. The old man has bequeathed a sum of money and a packet of particular papers, poetry, riddles, metaphysical speculations. For the first time in months, here is the fuel for my reason. Now, you notice he gives you 9 funds. The bequest, which is a package of papers, procure their papers for my correspondence executor. God, we're going to call him Harvey Warren. Then you've heard the story I did, you know why. I must study it either using passion or reason. And reason. Boom. No live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Shirley Jackson, Haunting Hill House, which is a really good story, by the way. If you've seen the series, it's really got nothing to do with it. Now, the temptation is to, of course, immediately throw that bequest in. But we may not want to. Now, I'm probably going to break this into parts because it's going to be more than a few minutes to do some of this. We're already 12 minutes in and we barely get started. So I will be jumping and skipping at particular points in order to show you some of the strategies to advance yourself in the game. I'm not going to show you the entirety of the game, but I'm going to get you started because eventually the autumn and winter sales for Steam will come up, and this game will be much more affordable, and all the DLC is currently free. So this is, like I said, let's try to give you an idea if you like it. But if you're also playing it now and you're a little frustrated, I want to be able to give you a little bit of help here. Now, my opening gambits was not the way I usually do it. It's not perfect. What I'm showing you is kind of how I learned to evolve the game. So at the moment, we have restlessness, which will eventually... Yeah, memory. This is actually important for one of the DLC quests, by the way. And of course, influence. But you notice there's something else about restlessness. Heart, Grail, Forge, which is the fire once read as the winter that warms and spring that consumes. It's a principle of Forge that transforms into scathes, and Grail. Hunger, lust, and the drowning waters. The principle of Grail honors both live beast, the birth and the feast, life and death, the womb and the tomb. Anyways, so what do we do now? Now, remember, if you really want to ask yourself, boom, it tells you can study restlessness, the bequest, the vitality, or the reason. If you do the vitality, you'll notice that it wants another vitality, which is why I'm generating another one. Passion, I can't do anything with because it says my passions burn low. I've exhausted it. But what I can do is reason. Read whatever's to hand. The world is awash with printed words. Even the newspapers contain knowledge sometimes. Basically, you decide to go out and learn some stuff. Money disappearing? And as you can see, we are getting to the point where restlessness can be an issue. But we have no ability to remove it now, or do we? Because, boom, the tincture of opium has a purpose to it. 30-second counter. I mean, why would you get opium? Now, notice dread. I've seen too much. A nameless gnawing fear has its teeth in my hopes of existential horror. Standard for Lovecraftian protagonist. Despair induces despair, which can kill you. Literally. Influence, echo resonance. It's an influence. And what's this? Edge. All conquest occurs at the edge. Another who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. It's a principle of battle and struggle. You're struggling against that, where it's also another memory, and it's an ill health aspect. In other words, you don't want it hanging around. But it'll become important later, and boom, there you have it. Bleak thoughts. Dark days, I must be careful not to let darks creep in. Dread can produce despair. 3 dread kills you. Boom, the game is over, you restart, because there's no save in that way. But contentment is what counters dread, if you recall. How does it do that? Well, watch and learn. Erudition. Erudition? I don't know. I soak up knowledge as shadows soak up light. I may be close to advancement. Erudition can be used with study to gain reason. It lasts only 3 minutes if unused. Lantern influence, remember? And can be used for advancement. Like I said, this shit is how you win the game. That's how I managed to figure out a lot of it. Funds, fatigued health, and vitality. Now, the first thing we want to do right now, take this vitality, put it under study, put that one in. Exercise the body. I am alarmed with vitality. If I devote some time to exercise, I will benefit. Boom. We've decided to go in a health regimen. Now, we can't work with a wounded health. This is why getting a second health is important, is we can switch them out. Now, remember, we know what we can put here. Passion or reason. Now, what does passion give us for work? Paint. I used to paint. I could paint some sights I half remember from my dreams. I might sell something. It probably won't. This is because you're losing a bottom level passion. Passion is a level 1 skill. And essentially you're just starting out doing finger painting. But reason can also be put there. Find clerical work. Find work which will spare my body, if not my mind. Now, here's the question. Where do you go from here? Do we cannot let the funds just spill outwards. Do we go with the clerk, which of course has its own issues, or do we try to increase our passion and make ourselves a better painter? Now, we have 9 funds, but this can disappear quickly. Every minute goes by, we lose 1 fund. So, the safe path is the clerical one. Now, there's a lot of issues with this, in that it will literally drain the fucking soul out of you, just like real clerical work will. If we do passion, however, like most artists, we'll starve. Right now, to take the safe route is probably the smarter option. So, we're going to be doing reason. There's a reason for that later. Haha. You notice, however, by the way, whatever you put into here is recorded. Every attribute that's in reason is in here. 2 lantern, 1 ingredient, and 1 ability. So we're going to go looking for clerical work. And you notice a little graphic of desk job, which is what we're condemning ourselves to. And it is condemning. Trust me on that. Now, here's another thing. Wow. Why is the health glowing? Health fatigued. Nap to recover from fatigue. Duh. You can easily snap your health back together if you have the dream slot open. Okay. Now, apparently there's an easy to find a job, at least. Okay, so notice this little bar right here is where all cards go to if you click on the collect, if they don't already have a spot. Most cards will go back to where they started from. This one, on the other hand, is new. Junior position at Glover and Glover. My intellect should be put to better use, but the pay is better than laborer's work. If you don't attend the job regularly, you might suffer demotion. It means in 88.5 seconds, if I don't use this card to go work, the scratching of pens, the sourness of the dust, the sighing of young Glover, the greedy gurgling of the elder. In other words, it's a family-owned position in which advancing is a little difficult, but diligence. Now, diligence means this, I can put in some extra effort and hope to get a promotion. Now the question is, do I want to do that? Now you'll note that let's run without doing diligence once, and then I'll run with diligence to show the difference. Now remember, I said you don't have to fill these slots. Sometimes it means you fail, sometimes it means you will fail if you fill it, and sometimes it just changes the results. Now you'll notice that it only took 30 seconds of game time to get the health back, so I'm recharged. So I could have chosen to keep up with the laborer's position. There's some merit to that, but the low amount of pay means that you're always on the edge. Now, dream, I'm not going to do. We got the dread card from it, basically. We don't want to go any further than that. So we're going to leave that empty for now. Yes, the bequest is still up there. So we zip in. Trysts and interludes. If I have a particular friend, now is the time to renew our connection. In other words, you can have a lover, but you don't want to have notoriety when you're doing it. Notoriety is a card you'll be playing with a lot. Now, you'll notice that when the despair reset, it looked for the contentment card and sucked it up, drained it in. So this contentment card, you see, you can defeat despair by feeding it contentment. Otherwise, it'll destroy you when it reaches 3 dread. So long as there's at least 1 dread in there, that card, the despair will keep cycling, waiting for new dread. And either 3 dread, you destroy yourself. And again, you notice it keeps the counter of everything here. But we have a contentment because basically I got stoned. And we also got another one, so I could have saved my money, but you cannot rely on random draws. Exercise the body. I've grown stronger. I've gained health. It'll be more difficult to get health next time. Stronger physique. Losing the benefit from exercise. Use with 2 lesson learns to gain more health. 2 what? Well, you'll find out. Now I have 2 health, which marks down here. But, of course, the question is, what now? Now, I noted that I did not take the route of passion for labor. For getting money. It's the hardest one to do, but I did take the one of reason. Now, one of the problems I'm going to have with reason is that this job over here is going to suck at least one of it constantly. So what we want to do is take the erudition and give myself additional reason. Boom. Now, and we have no need yet to go back to dreaming. Boom. Now, here's the thing. We did all that and we got 1 fund. Now, the problem being is that it took us, if you recall, 90 seconds to do that. So it means that we are literally going to starve to death if we stay only at that level of position. So right now, I cannot do anything about it. But what I can do is upgrade my unskilled labor. I've now increased my physique so I can actually work harder. Notice that this card will go out in 88 seconds, but this card now requires 55 instead of 60, which means we're slowly beating the clock here. So at the moment, labor is actually better. As a deer in England is probably a better political party in your current situation. Okay, so, oh, good lord, 21 minutes in. Wow, time goes by. Anyways, it's the basis of the game here. You'll notice that, by the way, despair abates. Memories of the better times keep the wolf from the door. It's destroyed 1 dread. And now the dread's back down to 0. This means, well, hang on, we'll get to that. We have a fleeting remembrance, which is another influence, mind you. It's a memory. It's a secret history. History is a scar on a world's skin, describing the unknown complexity of the world and its many paths. There's something you don't catch the first time around. Secret histories are alternate timelines. You are literally, if you play this game deep enough, going to discover that every secret history is a different timeline, and it's a big question which timeline you happen to be in. But again, I usually put my resources up here to see. Now, you don't have to use all your resources. Yep, think got another erudition. Boom. Increase reason. I have picked up odd facts here and there. If I spend time studying what I've learned, I can increase my reason. Let's do it. We're going to need it for this job. Oh, the other job. Apparently, we are now moonlighting. We have 2 jobs. We're now you're a clerk moonlighting as a laborer. God, this sounds too much like 2020. 2 jobs just to get by. Now, notice you have the fatigued health, which you've done before, the new vitality from the job, the skill comes back, and you have 1 fund. Now, the question is, right now, since you have 32 seconds remaining, you're going to have to go back here and do the job, or you're going to lose it. This time around, we'll do diligence, extra effort, and see if it's observed. Yeah, sometimes. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm even bad about that. Let's nap. It's only going to save me 3 seconds at this point. Should have been faster at that, but eventually you get into the rhythm of the game. You'll find a rhythm, you'll be able to keep it up, and then from that point, when you have a stable platform, you can advance. I hate this. Sickness. I've become unwell. It takes 1 of your health, and 60 seconds later turns it into a... Now, you know, so we have scholarship. I am flushed with clever quotations. So basically, you got your GED, and you got your library card. That's what it is. And reason. We've kind of got 2 reason. One of them is currently floating in here, and one of them's here. So... Now, what do I study? Well, notice the other option. Sometimes you do not have to just click this to see what glows. You can pick this up and anything that's acceptable to go will glow. Read sentimental literature. If I proposed to learn anything, I wouldn't be reading this stuff. In other words, poetry. There's nothing wrong with poetry, it just doesn't pay. And we don't want to activate the dream thing randomly. This is, after all, Lovecraftian universe. Ooh, here's where things get interesting. Yeah, you can zoom in if you want to read these things. Mr. Alden, as supervisor of records, has called me into his office to recognize my diligence. I watch the mole in his neck as he talks and talks and talks. At the end of it, I have a promotion. My new position is better paid, and the desk stands by the street window. But if I work directly for Mr. Alden now, Mr. Alden is known to be exacting. We have that boss, guys. But now the biggest problem we have is that he wants us to come by every 57 seconds. If you recall, I could theoretically use this, which is probably what I'm going to do, for 55 seconds, which is going to give me only a 2-second margin to be able to get this in without getting fired. Yeah, this is that kind of game. You have to pay a freaking attention to what you're doing. So let's hit it. 55 to 57. Now, there's a reason I'm doing that is that I can be paid essentially to advance my own health. But I'll be using one of these vitality already in a moment here. All right, let's go. Okay, read the poetry. Yeah, these moments. The thing is, these moments kind of bring me zen. It's kind of what I'll space out when I'm doing the game. Like I said, it really helps me sleep sometimes. Affliction. Disease has left me weak. I need rest and nourishment if I'm to recover. Dream and affliction to transform it back to health. Also, to winter. I didn't even know that. You can use I learn things all the time. You can use it as an ingredient, but remember, this is your health you're talking about. If you use it as an ingredient, you burn it off. You know this. But hint, recover. You can either use medicines, which cost money, and we don't have a shit ton of that, or vitality, which is basically health. Basically, you've been keeping in shape by doing that labor work, so we're going to survive. And there we go. 1.4 seconds before I've been fired. I'm going to basically get to my office having barely showered and not slept, but I will keep my job. I am better. Okay. I am better paid than it was, but Mr. Alden has taken an interest in me. Mr. Alden is very particular. Mr. Alden has things done just so. And if Mr. Alden never believed that I would qualify his position, you motherfucker, you hired me, asshole. Aspect, annoyance. Here's a thorn in my side. I'm yet to find a way to remove it. There are multiple ways to get rid of Mr. Alden. One of them is to literally wait until he retires, but oh my God, does that take forever. And there are other ways when we have those options. We'll get there in a bit. All right, so we'll work for Mr. Alden for now because, like the real world, we can't kill our boss. Or can we? More poetry. All right, put the vitality into place. Put the glimmering into place here. Now, glimmering, one moth influence. My emotions run higher than usual. There are always things I'll never understand, and those things will always be precious, but just now I am closer to them. Glimmering can be used as study to gain passion, but it only 3 minutes if unused. You're going to be burning through a lot of these things. A lot of these influences are, like you notice the influence I picked up from the despair, just zip past. You know what I mean? Because essentially they're opportunities, but you don't have to take opportunities. If you try to use everything you're given in this game, you go mad. So the important in the real world. So the important thing is prioritize. Prioritize what you want and make the game work for you. It's kind of a metaphor for life that way. In fact, this is the best analogy to actually being an occultist in the real world, trying to manage both the real job and when we actually get to it, the metaphysics. But right now, we're just mastering the material world. Always have a sound foundation. To reason. As otherwise, you're just starving to death in the gutter and dreaming. And that's just not good for you. All right, so dream will get done first. You notice that we're healing from the affliction, and boom. Turns back into another health. So we have our health back. And like I said, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Notice, however, we had something go by we didn't even notice. That's going to happen a lot. Get a fleeting assurance. I should have opened it up, but I'll have plenty of opportunity. That's a fascination trap. If you generate fascination, which is essentially you getting so obsessed with your studies that you start losing your mind, you can go crazy. Again, Lovecraftian. Basically, you burn out your sanity. Now, here we are. Let's see if he does it this time. Okay. Notice something here. Work overtime at Mr. Alden's assistance. I do not believe that you have properly understood the importance of our work here. Your task will remain your full attention. We have an option. We throw one reason in here, like that. The work is complete when I have assessed the work is complete and not before. I trust we understand each other. Or we basically cut out early despite that. I'm going to do both like usual. We're going to cut out early. Now, read sentimental literature again, to glimmering, and boom. The fires of wrath are wiser than the horse of instruction. If I spend time studying what I've learned, I can increase my passion. Which is exactly what we're going to do. And boom. Now, sometimes you can't rely on the space bar. Okay. this is what he says to us. I would like to say I'm disappointed, but my expectations of you were already low. I have no choice but to withhold a portion of your pay. You may go, but be punctual tomorrow. You notice we gained exactly 1 fee from that, despite taking 90 seconds. So there's literally no reason not to throw in the extra reason. Didn't realize I was going to do that. Now, the thing is, we cannot have that option right now because I'm speeding up. We cannot go back and do the laboring job, which means basically I have to do this again. Okay, we're going to work, but this time it randomly shows up, by the way. Most times he will demand extra work from you, but not always. There's the Fascination Trap. A trembling in the air. The sun flickers like a shadow. Dreams a ripple behind the surface of mirrors. I must be careful not to drift from the waking world. Fascinations will produce visions. Visions produce madness. It's kind of the opposite of dread. You get too excited. Kind of a hypermania. Feed my imagination. There are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the thing that passes through those windows. You have a skill, a bit of emanation. My daydreams sometimes outpace my dreams. Use this to work with paint or study, or with studied and 2 lessons learned to gain more passion. Aspect, imagination. Ability. And there's my second passion. Here is where you get to decide what you want to concentrate on. I usually, once you get 2 health, 2 passion, 2 reason, you can reasonably take a breath, simply because you always have 1 backup. In other words, the biggest problem you can have in the beginning is you only have 1 health, you get sucked up by sickness, you don't have the money to fix it, you drop dead of pneumonia or consumption or whatever you want to call it. So essentially you die of poverty. So the thing is now, at this point in the game, is that when we get to start upgrading from the first level of these things. So in order to do that, we're going to have to do a lot of studying. Now, I'm not going to put you through this. I'm going to do this exactly once, and I'm going to do it with passion, simply because that's the one that's going to be essentially at unused for the beginning, because of the way I'm going. We continue to this whole read central until we get more glimmering. In the meantime, we've got to do, the problem with this game is sometimes you can grind for quite a bit. It's got to be the sort of game that you're into, and I am, simply because I've loved the story. Now, again, he's done the whole thing, but this work is complete when I assess the work is complete, and not before. I trust we understand each other. So basically, you now spend unpaid overtime work. Now, it's not technically unpaid because he's withholding you're holding half of your wages if you don't do this. That is the paycheck theft, which is still happening in the fucking real world. Mind you, it's still legal, by the way, in the United States. But notice I'm about to lose that vitality because I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Now, if I pace this back to normal speed, you'll notice we have yet another fleeting remedy. We're going to burn through a lot of these. And there we go. The wrong kind of attention. The city is rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long will they leave me in peace? Adversary. Now note, it's looking for an adversary, a hunter, or a rival. Mostly it's going to be dealing with hunters. Rivals are a rare thing. In this, we now currently have that. But the thing is, we're not actually doing anything illegal. The whole point of this is they're looking for people doing, dark magic kind of stuff, or, the standard theft and murder, which is another option for your character. You can go in all sorts of directions. It's lovely. I do play a pacifist version, by the way. It's my usual one, because killing people tends to bring the wrong attention. Seriously. You can get through the entire game and really only do a few questionable things. Yes, you're worshipping the dark powers of chaos and madness and trying to attune yourself to powers beyond human comprehension that will drive merely their presence will drive you mad, but you don't have to be a jerk about it. All right, you'll notice that it's curious few, the wrong type of reputation. Now they're looking for clues. Because we haven't done anything bad, we don't have any clues. Nobody cares about us. We're some anonymous clerk working for Grover and Grover. And you got to keep burning this. Go. That has absolutely no attention. Now, you'll notice that this time, Alden says, on this occasion, I've determined that your work is an acceptable standard. You may go, but be punctual. You'll notice we have 2 funds. Funds are still staying at 10, by the way. If you notice, we're barely treading water, and that's gonna be a consistent thing. Now, if we stay at normal speed, I can do this, and I can get the vitality going, but I don't want to do that right now. Basically, study is a bottleneck. You are going to be using study to upgrade everything from your health, your passion, your reason, to lore, to influences. It's insane the amount of work study does, and you have to prioritize what's going on. I prioritize passion simply because it's the easiest one for me right now. Afterwards, I'll probably go back to health by alternating the Glover work with Glover and the physique, because the more you upgrade this, the less time it takes you to complete a job. And that doesn't really work that way in the real world, mind you, but we're doing fantasy. So at the moment, we're gonna be burning through reason like crazy, dealing with this guy. Again, there's ways to deal with him. I may or may not do it. I mean, there's quite a good chance that by the time I get to the position where I am able to do something to him, he's gonna already retire or drop dead old age, I guess. Notice. Curious few. My name now is clear. The guardians are in the shadows. Again, more contentment. And there's that glimmering I forgot to pick up. And contentment's good to have around just in case you need it, but it lasts so little I don't count on it being useful. Usually I'll just count on the funds to give it to me by getting, drunk. Just high, stoned, I don't know. And boom. This time around, nobody noticed anything. Glimmering. We have 2 glimmering, which means we immediately start studying them. We're going to upgrade the root passion again. There's reason, but they're wanting. Notice how quick you get at catching these cycles. Again, I usually do it at normal pace because I'm doing this. It's kind of a zen, a meditation kind of thing. But since you guys probably want something less, but boom, another 2 funds, and we're going to keep driving this wheel. Notice our funds are starting to go up because I'm concentrating only on making money. Yes, I'm currently selling out. I have these mystical desires, and there we are. Exotic cravings. This is what's going to drive you crazy and win you the game. Exotic cravings are the desires that you have towards the mystical. You're one of those people who's been drawn into the mystical, and either you will master that ability and become a magus, you will bury your imagination in mundane work, or get married. There's another option, another DLC type of mission. We'll get into those eventually if you guys like this. Or it will drive you mad to despair. Guys, it's looking for a card, by the way. That's what the magnet means. It's trying to pull in a card like this pulls in the funds. You have no control over that. And oh, what's this? Glimmer? A lesson learned. I'm ready to improve. Use this imagination skill to improve your skill and passion. It lasts up to 5 minutes before it declays back into a glimmering. Now, what does that mean? It means we need 2 of those. By the way, that indicator means that whatever you put in there will be consumed. 2 of those plus that skill to increase the next skill. So what we're going to do, we're going to just grind. You're going to get used to a lot of that if you're going to play in that game. But restlessness, our old friend, that will turn back into despair, which will cost me a fund to get rid of. There is a way to get rid of it, but we are not in the position to do so now. Remember, if I paint, I'm going to use the same thing as working. Now, if I don't work at Glover's for 60 seconds, I'll be demoted. And is that what I want? Do I want to just blow the fund? And I am going to do that. You have to make decisions about which price do you want. Do you want to spend the time to try to beg for your job back using passion, because that's an option? Or do you want... I'm pointing at the screen. Why am I pointing at the screen? Or you can burn 1 fund to the restlessness. Right now we have 10 funds, so I'm going to choose that funding, keeping our supply of funds is more important than trying to burn off the restlessness. Always have a plan, always weigh your options. Oof, almost 40 minutes. I don't know how many of you are still here, but again, I can tell just because it's opened up that he's done the same thing. Like I said, he doesn't do it every time. Keep going. All right, so you'll notice, by the way, all the bad things happen. Oh my god, 2 despair, you sons of bitches. This is going to get painful. Do you see, every time this game resets, bad things can happen. Occasionally a good thing happens, but 9 times out of 10 a bad thing happens. And sometimes more than 1 bad thing happens. Again, we're back to the glimmering, burn the passion. One of the good things about study, by the way, is it does not exhaust whatever you're using. I don't have to wait for passion to recover 2 more funds back. Okay, so boom, we're in here. Back to work. Okay, so yeah, now we've got 2. 3 dread can kill me, so we need to get rid of the dread before that counter comes up. That's one of the things that pops, by the way. If you see this grail indicator, it means you're about to get a free glimmering for whatever you did, essentially getting stoned out of your mind. But we have contentment. Why is that important? Because you can take dread, you can add contentment, clear your head. Boom, it's gone. We'll have to do it again when we get to this point. And there's the free glimmering. Notice it has a bit of a cooldown before it becomes active. I'm not exactly sure why they do it for game mechanics, but they do. But it basically means that this glimmering is probably going to go to waste. Despair, bleak thoughts. Now here's a problem. I have the option of trying to get rid of that restlessness before it absorbs the bleak thoughts dose. Now again, that costs me the job, or I can use another funds. I'm probably going to use another funds because 2 funds is easier to get. then my job back. And boom. Another glimmering. Now, the thing is, we already have these 2 glimmerings, what we need to get the second glimmering lesson learned. Yes, you're going to be learn real fast. Improve. This whole game could be called self-improvement. Because that's essentially all the whole point of the game is you're evolving your character, evolving your intellect, your passion, your health, your knowledge, even your alliances and friendships as time goes on, to become the greater person. Go back to work. Dread is absorbed up. We have 1 dread in the counter, but we have that, and we need. You notice that when we burn off each other, they become a fleeting remiss. We go get high again. Yeah, we're a hard worker and we're a hard player. Basically, every weekend we're getting drunk and laid. Sigh. All right, now we have this. This is fun. You have both these fascination and that, but the funny part is fascination actually will consume dread. It's bizarre. Sometimes I've played it, so I've specifically got dread so I can get rid of the fascination. Yes, you were playing with your sanity. Just try to get things done. Boom, there it absorbs. That will cancel that out. And we take a breath. Put the reason back, stack the reason back together. Now we have glimmering, a lesson learned. Boom, 2 of these. Get the next level. Alden wants the TOP report. I don't know, kind of an the Office movie reference. Office Space, that was it. I like that film. I go back to see it every now and then. And again, that's going to get repetitive, but notice that our funds are slowly building up. We're going to need that. Turns out practicing occult is very expensive. Rich man's game. All right. Fascination produces fleeting, which, by the way, will also cancel out fascination. There goes our money, damn you all, and fleeting resemblance. Now, like I said, the beginning part of the game isn't sexy. It's literally increasing your character's strength to the point where he becomes able to resist the problems that result later. If you try to jump into doing the occult before you have a strong mind, soul, and body, it'll rip you to pieces. So that's what we're doing. Essentially, self-help guru. God, it's so much like some of that. But you notice that, boom, we now have a wild imagination instead of a powerful imagination. We have known to break 6 pencils a day, and we have imagination level 2. Now this can go up to level 4, but you can't get past level 3 passion, which unlike without magic, and we haven't done magic yet. So this is pretty much the basics right here. Now, what I would probably do is that when I get to the next stage, when I get the bequest and I start opening up the research into the occult, I'll start the episode then. But what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to push to max out, get to level 3, health, passion, and reason. Each one will potentially be 4 cards, so I can spread myself out across the board. Remember, every 60 seconds is 2 weeks, so this is basically me being able to multitask like hell. But like I said, if you enjoyed this, and it's one of the things I'm throwing together before one of my games came out early, ended early. Another of my games is Buster and Beyond, will be coming out in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, I thought, given that serendipity wiped my save, yeah, power outages will do that to you. Where I would show you the basics of how to start this game. This is step 1. I'll show you step 2, which is hitting the books. Catch you next time. This is Fantastic Worlds. Like, share, subscribe.